In this video, I'm going to explain that teachers and parents and adults generally speaking really fail children when it comes to mathematical understanding by failing to talk explicitly about the meaning of the equal sign. So if I was to ask you, what does that sign mean, the equal sign mean, you'll probably think that I'm being a bit weird. Like, obviously it just means equals, you'd probably say. And you could say, yeah, on a very surface level, that's what it says. But what's the meaning of it? Now, there are actually two main ways that you can understand the meaning of this symbol. One way is to think of it as meaning, and this is the way that most children, particularly from a younger age, think of the meaning of that equal sign. They think of it as the answer comes next. Put the answer after the equal sign. Put the answer to the right of the equal sign. So they think that on the left of the equal sign will be the calculation that you need to do, or the operation. So 4 plus 4 goes on the left. Then you put the equal sign, and then you insert answer on the right of the equal sign. That's how most children understand the meaning of that symbol. Most children in the UK and in the US at least. However, the other way of understanding the equal sign, and I'm going to argue that this is the way that we really must encourage children to understand it. The other way to understand the equal sign is to think of it as whatever is on the left-hand side of the equal sign is the same value as whatever is on the right-hand side of the equal sign. So it's not the answer, the question is on the left and then the answer is on the right. There is an operation or an expression on the left, and there's an expression on the right, and the equal is in the middle, which means that the value of both of those two sides is the same. And that understanding, by the way, that's the understanding that most Chinese pupils in China have. And the reason they have that understanding is that they are explicitly taught that understanding from first grade. From first grade, 5, 6 years old, they are taught that meaning of the equal sign. This research that was done a few years ago, which asked students to look at this question on screen. So, this statement, I should say. 3 plus 4, and then the equal sign in the middle, and then 7 on the right-hand side. And they asked them a series of questions, 2 of which were, what does the symbol mean? And can the symbol mean anything else? And they classified the answers that they gave into the two camps. The operational camp. So the operational camp is the camp or the interpretation that the answer comes next. So students who gave that sort of answer would say something like, the answer goes here, or that equal sign means what do the numbers on the left-hand side add up to, that kind of thing. That's that operational understanding of the equal sign. The relational understanding of the equal sign is the balancing one. So the left-hand side balances with the right-hand side, or the right-hand side balances with the left-hand side, yeah? And what they found was that in grades 6 and 7, the majority of pupils had the operational understanding, i.e. the answer goes next. In grade 8, it was about 50-50, but still a lot of the pupils understood the equal sign as meaning the answer comes next. And this is a finding that has been repeated over and over again in lots of research. Most pupils in the Western world, in Britain and in America, tend to have that operational understanding of the equal sign. Now, what's the significance? Who cares? Why does this even matter? Well, another piece of research found that when students in a US school, I believe, were given this question or this statement, when they were told to look at this statement and insert the missing value, so it's 8 plus 4 and then equal sign and then blank plus 5, only a tiny minority of them were able to put in the correct number. So the correct number that goes in there is 7, because, there's various ways of working it out, but the most probably simplest way is to say 8 plus 4 is 12. And so 5 plus something, to make 12, that's got to be 5 plus 7. Only a minority of the pupils were able to come up with the correct number to put in there. most of the students in most of those age ranges put 12 in there. Why did they put 12 in there? Because they understood that they thought that that equal sign means put the answer next. So they added up 8 plus 4 and then they put 12 after the equal sign. Or they put 17 after the equal sign, which is where they added up all the numbers that they could see. So 8 plus 4 plus 5. And then they put the number, 17 there, which is the sum of all of those three numbers. And the biggest significance of that, going back to the previous research that I was talking about, comes now when it comes to understanding of algebra. So those researchers who asked those students, what their understanding of the equal sign is, they then gave them some algebraic questions, the kind of questions that they would start to see at those kind of ages. So these are two examples. So first of all, they gave them linear equations, such as these two. So 4m plus 10 equal, and then 70. And then 3m plus 7, and then an equal sign, and then the 25. And then the question is, what would the value of m be to make both of those statements true? So m in the top one is 15, m in the bottom one is 6, I believe, 6, 12, 18, yeah. And what they found was that when they looked at each age group, each grade, and then they split them into the students who had the relational understanding of the equal sign, i.e. balancing, and then the students who had the not relational understanding, i.e. the answer comes next understanding, the ones who had the relational understanding of the equal sign were much more likely. So in grade 6, 40% of the relational understanders got those questions correct versus just about 25% of the others. And then in grades 7 and 8, over 80% of the relational understanders got it right, whereas for the non-relational understanders, it was down at 30% in grade 7 and still only 50% in grade 8. Then they also gave them some equivalent equations. So these are slightly more complicated ones, but the same principles apply. So you can see the questions here. And for these ones, again, a similar pattern. 60% of those with the balancing understanding of the equal sign got it correct in grade 6, goes up to 80% in grade 7 and nearly 90% in grade 8. Whereas for the people who thought of the equal sign as meaning just put the answer next, it was just 40% at grade 6, 40% at grade 7, and even in grade 8, just 50%. So why does this even matter, actually? Well, I mean, I've explained it already, but algebra is a fundamental part of mathematics. By the time you're getting into your secondary school here in the UK, or Key Stage 3, which I believe is from about 12 years old, algebra is, if you don't understand algebra, if you can't think algebraically, then you are not going to be excelling in mathematics. You are going to struggle in mathematics. And so what the research has shown here, and this is just a snippet of the research, lots and lots of research has shown the same thing, is that the way that children understand that equal sign is going to pretty much make or break how well they're going to do in mathematics later on. And the reason being that if they think of the equal sign as just being the answer comes next, then they're not really understanding the concept of equality. They're not really understanding what equations really are. And their mathematical thinking is not developed enough. Now, I mentioned at the top that the main reason for this is because of the way that we teach children mathematics. So if you think about, for example, the average mathematical workbook that you'll find will just have a list of these equations. It will say 5 plus 5 equals blank. And over and over and over again, we teach children that what you need to do is to do the operation on the left-hand side for 5 plus 5 equals what answer? That's what we're telling them. We're teaching them. We're putting it in their brains, in their minds deeply, that sign, that symbol, that equal symbol means put the answer next. Look through your maths books. If you're a parent, go and have a look through your maths books. Over and over and over again, that's what we're shown. Or the other way we kind of reinforce this is, the vertical structure of equations. So like 5 and 5 on the top and then 5 underneath it, and then there'll be a plus sign there. Then there's a line. And again, it's answer, put the answer there. it's training children, isn't it? It's training us to think that an equation starts somewhere and then stops. There's a termination point, which is either on the right-hand side of the equal sign or at the bottom, underneath the line of the the vertical equations. And that's the problem. And I've realized that I'm going to give you a couple of suggestions and some recommendations about how we can start to break out of that kind of mindset. But just remember, I did say to you as well that in China, they teach children explicitly the relational understanding of the equal sign. They teach them the balancing understanding, that the equal sign means both sides are balanced. And one of the best ways to do that, best ways to start to show children this from a young age, is to use concrete materials. So things like building blocks or stones or rocks. You don't even have to buy anything for this stuff. Just use physical items that you can see, and just give them. If we say, for example, see if I can do this as swiftly as possible. So here you go. I've got two block towers here, and they've both got 4. You say to them, okay, how many blocks are in each tower? And they'll say, there are 4. Okay, so you can say 4 is the same as 4. So you could say, if you were going to write that down, you could say 4 equals 4. Now, what if I broke them up? What if I showed you this now? How many blocks are in each tower? It's still 4. But how many black blocks are in this tower on this side? There are 3 black blocks. And how many yellow blocks? 1 yellow block. And that makes 4. So you could say 3 and 1, or 3 plus 1, gives you 4. Now, how many blocks are on this tower? 4. And how many black blocks are there? There are 2 black blocks. How many yellow blocks? There are 2 yellow blocks. So you could say 2 plus 2 gives you 4. And 3 plus 1 gives you 4. And actually, you can represent that in an equation, because you could say 3 plus 1 is the same as 2 plus 2. And you can write it that, focus on the concrete for repeatedly over and over and over again. There's one thing you can get. You can get scales, or you can, if you've got balance scales, you can buy some of these, or if you've got any at home anyway, get balance scales, and then you can literally put them on the balance scales to show them visually. Because again, visuals is the best way of demonstrating any mathematical concept, which is why you have a whole field of profession called data analysis, data visualization. Most of my videos, what do I show loads of? Bars. I show loads of graphs, charts. Why? Because it's much better to show, it's our brains. We are much more able to understand things when we can see them visually depicted, and with colors and shapes and all that sort of stuff, Venn diagrams and whatever, than just dry old, boring old numbers and letters written linearly. Yeah. So that's one of the best things that you can do, is just build up their understanding of equality, mathematical equivalence, through concrete items. There are many different things that you can use for that. You can use Rec and Recs, which I recommend. I've got links, by the way, to some products if you want to get them. There are links to my Amazon affiliate links, basically. So if you click on the links and you purchase some of these items, I might get a couple of pence for every purchase that you make. So it helps me to keep, to help this project that I'm doing, my Eli Watnanda YouTube channel, my Mindful Black Dad website, and content that I'm trying to, I'm going to really focus on more. So there are Rec and Recs that you can use. There are these building blocks that you can use. You can use 10 frames, which are really good. 10 frames, I recommend those. And also Numicons are quite a good one as well. Anything concrete, anything physical that you can use to reinforce this understanding, do it. Don't rush to do the writing the symbols, the numbers. Don't rush to that. Instead, alternate and move between the concrete and then depicting the concrete, getting the children themselves to draw the shapes, draw circles. How many circles here? 1, 2, 3. All right. And then how many blue circles? 1, 2, 3. How many red circles? 1, 2. So how many circles altogether on this side? 5. And then on the other side, you can say, okay, now draw me 4 red circles there and 1 blue circle. How many circles altogether? 5. And so literally put a box there, put boxes there. You can have a box there. 3 plus 2 circles is the same as, put the equal sign is the same as when you're writing it. And then another box, 4 plus another box, 1. 3 plus 2 is the same as 4 plus 1. Yeah. Before I go on for too long, what else can we do? I would suggest as well, then you can start to do, if you want to start to go on to the worksheets kind of thing, then get worksheets like this type of thing, where where you have expressions on both sides, operations rather on both sides. Operation is where you've got do something, so something plus something on the left hand side, and then something plus something on the right hand side. The equal is in the middle, showing you that you've got to balance these two. So whatever the sum of this operation is, must be the same as the sum of this operation. And then given things like this with missing values, that's one of the missing addends if it's addition. That's one of the best ways to start to get children thinking algebraically, to start thinking about, okay, I want to understand and find out what the missing value is there. Same with this one. What's the missing value here? That gets them thinking, not about this plus, this plus this, answer goes there. It gets them thinking, no, I want to understand, look at the whole thing, and then work out what that missing addend here must be. All right. So there are plenty of those kinds of things online that you can print out, or you can just make them yourself, guys. If you haven't got a printer, I understand it's a bit long having to buy a printer and all this sort of stuff. Just do it yourself. Just write it down. But again, don't just jump to writing things down at the exclusion of the concretes. When children are in elementary school, in particular, or elementary levels up to, never dispense with the concretes. Never dispense with the symbols. Never dispense with the tactile stuff, the visual stuff. Now, another thing I'll recommend is doing, particularly once they're quite familiar with some of the basic addition facts, how to make 10, 9 plus 1 is the same as 10, or 4 plus 6 is the same as 10, the number bonds. Once they've got their number bond stuff all sorted out and they're quite confident, I would suggest start getting them onto something like this kind of thing, crosswords, maths crosswords, because the beauty of something like this one, for example, is that it first of all breaks out children from the concept that, written mathematics is all about start from the left, work to the right, answer on the right, and then it's a list. You want to get them. We want to get children. Even I did recommend these kind of worksheets, but this whole linear, I just think there's something on a deeper level that it does children a disservice when we just right, going all the way to the left and then stop. To the right, then start on the left, go, stop. There's something about that is reductive, and I think probably neuroscience will probably tell us that when children only ever see that linear left to right, format of mathematical expressions and statements, it limits their understanding and doesn't access that part of our brains that is about the patterns and the visuals and the movements and the intricacies, That's what maths crosswords are really good for, because it's up, down. They might have to go from left to right. They might have to go from top to bottom. And as you can see with this particular one, this particular statement here starts with just a single integer, a single number. So the number is the same as this addend plus that addend. This, what was it? Subtract? I can't remember what you call it for subtraction, but this number take away that number. Yeah. Then what I like about this is it's a little bit like a circuit, isn't it? Once you come up with the missing number here, once you come up with this number, what would you do it? Basically, you have to be strategic. You have to be strategic with this kind of thing. So yeah. So here, you come up with a missing number there, down here, then that opens up this equation here. And once you do that, again here, do that one there, get the answer, get the missing one there, then that opens up down here, and so on and so forth. So it's like a journey. It's not just a simple list of questions. It's a journey, And I love that kind of thing. My children really enjoy those as well because it is like an adventure, you know. And I even use the language sometimes of, you know, because sometimes if you put in a value that is incorrect, you might be able to make it work for one line, but then when it's connected to the other line, it doesn't work. And I like to talk to my children as if it's like it's a system. So it's like an electrical circuit. The connection here is not right, which is why the circuit's not working properly. Or you could say it's like an organic system. The respiratory system. This part of the lung isn't working, so the whole lung's not working, or something like that. You know, get some connecting the concepts of, you know, these concepts that they're talking about with bigger concepts and more elaborate and expansive sort of concepts, if you like. So those are some of the recommendations that I will give. Just to recap, if children understand the equal sign as just meaning put the answer afterwards, put the answer on the right hand side, then they are going to have a reduced understanding of equations, which means that when they now start to go on to non-standard equations, where, for example, there's a single digit on the left and then an equal sign and then an operation on the right, or when there are operations on both sides, they're going to struggle with those ones. And in addition, more importantly or more pressingly, that's going to also mean that when they start getting into your middle schools and upper schools, secondary schools, high schools, and they're starting to move into algebraic thinking, they are going to do much worse in algebraic thinking than children who have the relational understanding of the equal sign. The relational understanding of the equal sign is that it's like the middle of a pair of scales. Whatever's on one side of the equal sign must be the same value as whatever is on the other side of the equal sign. And again, I've mentioned the Chinese students. In China, they teach children the relational understanding of the equal sign from very, very young. And I would suggest to you that's one of the main reasons why the Chinese students do so well in mathematics. Okay, so hope that's been useful. Hope that's been insightful. I look forward to your thoughts and your comments on this as well. Remember, you can find all the notes from my video at eliwananda.substack.com. There are other videos that you can watch as well. So there's one here, a mathematical based video that I have done previously, and also YouTube will recommend another video here that you might find useful. All right, take good care of yourselves and I'll speak to you soon. Peace.